Hey there, language adventurers. Welcome to another exciting episode of Tales for Talking. I'm Jack, and today I'm joined by Sarah for a fascinating journey into the world of productivity hacks that will change your life. Here's the deal. I'll share some amazing productivity tips and techniques through stories and real-life examples, and Sarah will break them down into simpler English, making sure you catch every important detail and expression. Plus, we'll pause occasionally so you can practice your speaking skills. Get ready for some mind-blowing productivity secrets, plenty of aha moments, and a chance to level up both your productivity game and your English skills at the same time. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single minute of this episode. It's packed with practical tips you can start using today. So, grab your favorite drink, find a comfy spot, and let's dive right in. Here's our first game-changing productivity hack. Today, I'm sitting down with Sarah to chat about something that's been driving me crazy lately: productivity. You know, I used to be that guy who'd spend hours scrolling through social media, claiming I was multitasking. Man, was I kidding myself. Let me tell you about this eye-opening moment I had last month when I realized I needed to get my act together.
Hi, everyone. Let me explain what Jack just said in simpler terms. Jack used to waste time on social media while thinking he could do many things at once. This wasn't working well for him. When he says, get my act together, it means to organize himself better and improve his habits. Question for you. Have you ever tried to do many things at once? What happened? Please pause the video and try to answer in English. After you unpause, I'll share one possible answer. Here's one way you could answer. Yes, I've tried to do many things at once. For example, I once tried to watch TV while studying, but I couldn't focus on either thing properly.
So here's what happened. I was working from home, trying to write an important report while watching Netflix, checking my phone, and eating lunch. Suddenly, my boss called asking for the report, and I realized I'd spent 3 hours accomplishing absolutely nothing. Talk about a wake-up call. That's when I discovered the magic of time blocking and the Pomodoro Technique.
Jack is telling us about a difficult day at work. He was trying to do too many activities at the same time and couldn't finish his work. When he says wake up call, it means a situation that makes you realize you need to change something in your life. Time blocking means planning specific times for specific tasks. Question: what do you think is better, doing many things at once or focusing on one task at a time? Pause the video and share your thoughts. Here's a possible answer. I think focusing on one task at a time is better because you can give it your full attention and do it well.
The Pomodoro Technique absolutely changed my game. Here's how it works. You set a timer for 25 minutes and laser focus on just one task. No phone, no social media, no distractions whatsoever. After the 25 minutes, you take a short 5-minute break. It's like giving your brain a mini vacation. I started with just 2 Pomodoros a day. And now I'm crushing it with 8 to 10 focused sessions.
Let me explain what Jack shared about the Pomodoro Technique. It's a simple method where you work for 25 minutes, then rest for 5 minutes. When Jack says crushing it, he means he's doing very well or succeeding at something. Question: how many minutes of focused work would you like to try? Pause and tell us your thoughts. One possible answer: I would like to try 25 minutes of focused work because it seems like a reasonable amount of time.
You know what else was a total game changer for me? The eat that frog technique. No, no, I'm not talking about actual frogs here. It's based on this great quote that says, if you eat a live frog first thing in the morning, nothing worse can happen to you the rest of the day. Basically, it means tackling your most challenging or unpleasant task first thing in the morning. Let me tell you about last Tuesday. I had this huge presentation I was dreading. Instead of pushing it off, I jumped right in at 8 a.m. By 10 a.m., it was done and dusted. And let me tell you, I felt like I could conquer the world.
Jack is explaining a productivity method called Eat That Frog. It means doing your hardest or most important task first thing in the morning. When he says done and dusted, it means completely finished. Question: what is the most difficult task you need to do tomorrow? Would you try doing it first thing in the morning? Pause and share your thoughts. Here's one way to answer. Tomorrow, I need to write a difficult email. Yes, I would try to do it first thing in the morning to get it out of the way.
Another killer productivity hack I've discovered is what I call the 5-minute rule. Here's the deal when you're procrastinating on something. Just commit to doing it for 5 minutes. That's it. Just 5 tiny minutes. The funny thing is, once you start, you usually end up finishing the whole thing. Last week, my apartment was a complete disaster zone, and I really didn't feel like cleaning. So I said, "Okay, Jack, just 5 minutes of tidying up." Would you believe I ended up cleaning for an hour? It's like tricking your brain into getting started, and once you're in motion, you tend to stay in motion.
Let me explain this simple but effective technique. The 5-minute rule helps you start tasks you're avoiding. Procrastinating means delaying or postponing something you should do. When Jack says disaster zone, he means his apartment was very messy. Question: what task have you been avoiding that you could try for just 5 minutes? Pause and tell us. A possible answer could be, I've been avoiding organizing my closet. I could try doing it for just 5 minutes to get started.
Now, here's something that completely transformed my mornings. I call it my power hour. You know how most people roll out of bed and immediately grab their phone? Big mistake. Instead, I created this amazing morning routine. I wake up at 6 a.m., drink a big glass of water, do 15 minutes of light exercise, 15 minutes of meditation, and then spend 30 minutes reading or learning something new. No phones allowed. At first, it was torture. I mean, who likes getting up early? But after a few weeks, I started feeling like a completely different person. My energy levels went through the roof.
Jack is telling us about his morning routine, which he calls his power hour. When he says roll out of bed, it means to wake up and get up. When he says went through the roof, it means his energy increased very much. Question: what would you include in your ideal morning routine? Pause and share your thoughts. Here's a possible answer. In my ideal morning routine, I would exercise for 20 minutes and read a book while having breakfast.
Let's talk about another lifesaver, the 2-minute rule. If something takes less than 2 minutes to do, don't put it off, just do it right away. Like when you finish drinking your coffee, don't leave the mug on your desk thinking, I'll wash it later. Just take it to the kitchen and wash it immediately. This has been a total game changer for keeping my life organized. The other day, I got an email that only needed a quick yes response. In the past, I might have flagged it to deal with later, but instead, I just answered it right away. Boom! Done! No mental clutter.
Jack is explaining the 2-minute rule. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. When he says mental clutter, he means unnecessary thoughts that occupy your mind. Boom is an expression used to emphasize something happening quickly or effectively. Question: what are some 2-minute tasks you could do right away instead of postponing them? Pause the video to answer. A possible answer: I could make my bed right after waking up, or reply to short messages immediately instead of waiting.
Here's another mind-blowing technique that's helped me tremendously, the brain dump. Every night before bed, I spend 10 minutes writing down everything that's floating around in my head: tasks, ideas, worries, everything. It's like emptying your brain onto paper. The first time I tried this, I was shocked at how much better I slept. No more lying in bed at 2 a.m. wondering if I forgot to pay the electric bill or send that important email. Plus, it gives you a crystal clear picture of what needs to be done the next day. It's like having a conversation with your future self.
Let me explain what Jack described. A brain dump means writing down all your thoughts and tasks before going to bed. When he says, floating around in my head, he means thoughts that keep moving through his mind. Crystal clear means very clear or easy to understand. Question: what kind of thoughts keep you awake at night? Would you try writing them down? Pause and share your answer. Here's one way to answer. Sometimes I think about my tasks for tomorrow. Yes, I would try writing them down to help clear my mind.
Now, let me share something that literally saved my sanity: the batch processing technique. Instead of checking my email every 5 minutes like a crazy person, I now check it just 3 times a day. Same goes for social media, phone calls, and even errands. Last week, I grouped all my phone calls together and made them during my afternoon walk. Talk about killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I got my exercise in while handling all my calls. The amount of time this frees up is absolutely insane.
Jack is talking about batch processing, which means grouping similar tasks together and doing them at the same time. Killing two birds with one stone is an expression that means achieving two things with one action. When he says insane, he means surprisingly large or impressive. Question: what tasks could you group together in your daily life? Pause and think about it. A possible answer: I could group all my housework together on Saturday morning or do all my shopping for the week in one trip.
Let's talk about something that might sound a bit weird, but trust me on this: the energy audit. For 1 week, I tracked when my energy levels were highest and lowest throughout the day. Turns out, I'm like a superhero between 9 a.m. and noon. But after lunch, I'm about as productive as a sloth taking a nap. So now I schedule all my important brain-intensive tasks for the morning and save the easier, more routine stuff for the afternoon. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. No more fighting against my natural rhythms.
Let me explain the energy audit Jack talked about. It means observing when you have the most and least energy during the day. When he compares himself to a sloth taking a nap, he means he feels very slow and tired. Working smarter means finding better ways to work instead of just working harder. Question: when do you feel most energetic during the day? What kind of tasks would you do at that time? Pause and share your thoughts. A possible answer: I feel most energetic in the morning, so I would do my most difficult tasks then, like studying or exercising.
Here's something that blew my mind: the zero notifications approach. One day, I realized I was basically a puppet to my phone, jumping every time it made a sound. So I turned off all notifications except calls from important contacts. At first, it felt like I was living on a desert island. But wow, the difference in my focus was incredible. The other day, I got so deep into my work that I completely lost track of time in a good way. They call this flow state. And let me tell you, it's like having superpowers.
Jack is explaining how he turned off his phone notifications. When he says he was a puppet to his phone, he means his phone was controlling his behavior. A flow state is when you're so focused on what you're doing that you lose track of time. Question: how often do phone notifications interrupt your work or study? Would you try turning them off? Pause the video to answer. Here's one way to answer. My phone interrupts me about 20 times a day. Yes, I would try turning off notifications during my study time.
And here's a game changer that sounds super simple, but packs a punch: the one thing strategy. Every evening I ask myself, what's the one thing I absolutely must get done tomorrow? Not 5 things, not 3 things, just one. Yesterday, my one thing was finishing the proposal for our biggest client. Sure, I did other stuff too, but knowing my main priority kept me from getting lost in the weeds. It's like having a North Star guiding you through your day.
Let me explain the one thing strategy. It means choosing the most important task for tomorrow. When Jack says getting lost in the weeds, he means becoming distracted by less important details. A North Star refers to something that guides you or gives you direction. Question: What would be your one thing for tomorrow? Pause and think about your answer. A possible answer: my one thing for tomorrow would be preparing for my important presentation at work.
Let me share something that totally changed how I handle big projects. I call it the Swiss cheese method. Instead of staring at a huge task like a deer in headlights, I poke little holes in it whenever I have a spare moment. Like last month, when I had to prepare this massive presentation. Instead of waiting until I had a full day free, I spent 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, working on small chunks. Before I knew it, I'd made the impossible possible. It's like eating an elephant. You do it one bite at a time.
Jack is describing a way to handle big tasks by breaking them into smaller parts. When he says, like a deer in headlights, he means being frozen with fear or uncertainty. The phrase eating an elephant is a saying that means tackling a big task in small steps. Question: what big task could you break down into smaller parts? Pause and share your thoughts. A possible answer: I need to clean my entire house. I could break it down by doing one room each day.
Here's another killer technique I've been using, the MIT, or Most Important Tasks method. Every morning I write down 3 tasks that would make me feel like a champion if I completed them. Not just any tasks, but the ones that actually move the needle. Yesterday, my MITs were finishing the quarterly report, having that tough conversation with my team member, and working out. Got them all done by 3 p.m. and felt like I was walking on sunshine. Everything else I managed to do was just icing on the cake.
Let me explain the MIT method. MIT means most important tasks. When Jack says move the needle, he means tasks that make real progress. Walking on sunshine means feeling very happy. And icing on the cake means extra good things beyond what was needed. Question: what would be your 3 most important tasks for today? Pause and think about it. A possible answer: my 3 most important tasks would be finishing my project report, going to the gym, and calling my client.
Here's something that seriously upped my productivity game, the touch it once rule. The idea is simple. When you pick something up or start something, finish dealing with it right then and there. No more opening an email, thinking, I'll reply later, and then having it haunt you for days. Last week, I got a bill in the mail. Instead of tossing it on my desk to pay someday, I sat down right there and paid it. Boom! Done! It's like magic for keeping your to-do list from turning into a monster.
Jack is talking about handling things immediately instead of postponing them. When he says haunt you, he means something that keeps bothering you or staying in your mind. When he compares his to-do list to a monster, he means it can become overwhelmingly large. Question: what things do you tend to postpone dealing with? Could you try handling them immediately? Pause and share your thoughts. Here's a possible answer: I often postpone answering important emails. Yes, I could try responding to them as soon as I read them.
Now, let me tell you about my secret weapon for staying focused, what I call the environment hack. I turned my home office into a productivity paradise. No TV in sight. Phone goes in a drawer, and I've got this awesome plant that makes the space feel fresh and alive. But here's the real kicker. I created different zones for different types of work. My desk is for serious computer work. My comfy chair is for reading and brainstorming. And my standing desk is for quick tasks and phone calls. It's like my brain knows exactly what to do in each spot.
Jack is explaining how he organized his workspace to help him focus better. A productivity paradise means a perfect place for getting work done. When he says, "Here's the real kicker," he means the most important or interesting part. Question: how could you make your workspace better for focusing? Pause and share your ideas. A possible answer: I could remove distractions like my phone and create a dedicated study corner with good lighting.
Let me share a technique that's been an absolute lifesaver, the context switching minimizer. You know how jumping between different types of tasks can make your brain feel like scrambled eggs? Well, I now organize my day by contexts. All my creative work happens in the morning, meetings are bunched together in the afternoon, and admin stuff gets done in one block. The other day, I was writing content for 3 different projects, and instead of bouncing back and forth, I got into the writing zone and knocked them all out in one go. Talk about being in the groove.
Jack is talking about grouping similar activities together. Scrambled eggs refers to feeling confused or mixed up. When he says in the groove and in the zone, it means working smoothly and effectively. Question: what different types of tasks do you do regularly that you could group together? Pause to think about your answer. A possible answer: I could do all my phone calls in the morning and all my computer work in the afternoon.
Here's another game changer that might sound a bit odd, the MVP approach. That's minimum viable product, not most valuable player. Instead of trying to make everything perfect from the start, I focus on getting a basic version done first. Like when I was organizing my digital files last week, rather than creating this super complicated system, I just started with 3 simple folders: Current, Archive, and Resources. You can always improve things later, but you need something to improve first, right?
Let me explain the MVP approach. It means starting with a simple, basic version instead of trying to make everything perfect at first. When Jack mentions game changer, he means something that significantly improves a situation. Question: what project could you start with a simple version instead of trying to make it perfect? Pause and tell us. A possible answer: I could start my exercise routine with just 15 minutes of walking instead of planning a complex workout schedule.
Here's something that revolutionized how I deal with information: overload the second brain system. Instead of trying to keep everything in my head or having random notes everywhere, I created a digital system where I store everything: ideas, articles, quotes, you name it. It's like having a personal library that's always at your fingertips. The other day, I needed to reference a concept from a podcast I listened to months ago. Boom! found it in seconds instead of racking my brain trying to remember it.
Jack is describing a way to organize information digitally. A second brain means a system for storing and finding information easily. When he says racking my brain, he means trying hard to remember something. Question: what kind of information do you need to store and find easily? Pause and think about it. Here's a possible answer. I need to store recipes, study notes, and important documents so I can find them quickly when I need them.
And here's a technique that sounds ridiculously simple, but works wonders: the if-then planning method. Instead of making vague plans like, I'll exercise more, you create specific triggers. If it's 6 p.m., then I'll go for a 30-minute walk. Or, if my phone rings during focus time, then I'll let it go to voicemail. Last month, I set up an if-then plan for my afternoon slump. If I start feeling sleepy after lunch, then I'll do a quick 5-minute stretching routine. It's like programming your brain to run on autopilot.
Jack explained if-then planning, which means creating specific rules for what you'll do in certain situations. When he says running on autopilot, he means doing things automatically without having to think about them. Question: what if-then rule could help you with a habit you want to build? Pause and share your thoughts. A possible answer: if I finish dinner, then I'll immediately wash the dishes instead of leaving them for later.
Let me share one final productivity bomb that's totally changed my life: the done list. Everyone talks about to-do lists, but keeping a list of what you've actually accomplished is pure magic. Instead of beating yourself up about what you haven't done, you celebrate what you have done. Yesterday, I wrote down everything I completed, from big project milestones to small wins like making my bed, and let me tell you, it was a total confidence booster. It's like giving yourself a high five at the end of each day. Well, folks, that's a wrap for today's Productivity Masterclass. If you've enjoyed these tips and tricks, don't forget to smash that like button and hit subscribe. It really helps our channel grow. And hey, drop a comment below sharing your favorite productivity hack. I'd love to hear what works for you. Remember, productivity isn't about being perfect. It's about making progress. This is Jack, signing off until next time.
Before we go, remember that practice makes progress. Keep working on your English and try using these productivity tips in your daily life. Thanks for learning with us today. See you in our next episode of Tales for Talking.